On the remote colony world of Lunaris V, life had been peaceful. This distant outpost on the edge of human-explored space was one of Earth's latest efforts to expand humanity's reach into the stars. A lush green planet, Lunaris V had been deemed suitable for colonization decades ago. However, something ancient lay beneath its surface, waiting to be disturbed. Commander Marcus Reyes, a seasoned veteran of the Earth Defense Forces, stood on the observation deck of the colony's main facility, his gaze fixed on the sky. The atmosphere had always been a deep, soothing blue, but today an odd red hue bled into the horizon. His instincts kicked in. Something was coming. At the heart of the colony, Tessa Ward, a young girl of 13, roamed the outskirts of the settlement with her pet drone, an outdated model she had lovingly named Scrap. She was curious, always exploring, her sense of adventure unparalleled for someone her age. However, her curiosity often led her into places she wasn't supposed to be. Today, she had ventured farther than usual, her footsteps leading her toward a set of ancient ruins recently unearthed by the colonists. As Tessa approached the ruins, a low hum began to vibrate in the air. Scrap, always alert to danger, beeped erratically, trying to pull her back, but Tessa, fascinated by the strange structure, ignored the warnings. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and a massive door in the ruins slowly creaked open. Tessa's heart pounded with excitement. Unbeknownst to her, she had just awakened something far more significant than any human could have imagined. Back at the colony, the sky turned darker, and alarm systems blared to life. Lieutenant Maria Keller, the chief communications officer, rushed into the command center. "Commander, we're detecting unknown vessels entering the system. Fast." Marcus felt the weight of the moment. "Activate planetary defenses. I want every available fighter ready for launch." The alien fleet arrived in a flash, their ships sleek and predatory. The vessels hovered above Lunaris V like dark birds of prey, blotting out the sun. Without warning, energy blasts rained down on the colony, obliterating buildings and infrastructure. The attack was swift and merciless. Tessa, still near the ruins, was thrown to the ground as the first shockwave hit. Panic surged through her. Scrap buzzed frantically, urging her to take cover, but as she scrambled to her feet, an alien drone appeared above her, its red, glowing eyes locking onto her with lethal intent. Before she could react, the drone fired and Tessa collapsed, her body falling limp beside the ancient door. At the moment of her death, something stirred deep beneath the ruins. Far below, in a chamber hidden for millennia, ancient machines powered up, responding to Tessa's life force being extinguished. The energy surge rippled through the planet, and across the battlefield, both human and alien forces paused, their sensors registering an immense power signature rising from the ground. "What the hell is that?" Keller gasped, watching the readings spike on her screen. Suddenly, from beneath the ruins where Tessa had fallen, an enormous fleet of colossal starships emerged, their sleek, black hulls shimmering with untapped power. These were not human vessels, nor were they alien. They were something far older, ancient and terrifying. A fleet once dormant, now awakened by the innocent death of a young girl. Commander Reyes' eyes widened as the ancient fleet took to the sky. "My God, what have we done?" The alien invaders, now realizing the magnitude of what had been unleashed, tried to flee. Their ships turned, speeding toward the outer edges of the system. But the ancient fleet was faster. In a matter of moments, beams of raw energy shot out from the newly risen vessels, disintegrating the alien ships one by one with surgical precision. The humans on the ground, watching in stunned silence, could only stand by as the ancient fleet annihilated their foes. What had been a brutal invasion had turned into a massacre, but not one of humanity's doing. Reyes regained his composure, issuing rapid orders to his officers. "We need answers. Whatever those ships are, they're not on our side yet. I want all available intel on those ruins." As the alien threat was obliterated, one of the massive ancient ships descended toward the planet, its engines humming with a sound that resonated deep within the bones of every human watching. The ship landed near the ruins where Tessa's lifeless body lay. Inside the command center, Maria turned to Marcus. "Commander, I think this fleet, whatever it is, was waiting for something. Or someone." Marcus clenched his jaw. "It's not a coincidence. The girl, Tessa, she awakened them." The ancient ship's doors slowly opened, and from its depths a figure emerged. Tall, armored, and with eyes glowing a fierce blue, it stepped forward, radiating power and authority. In one hand it held an orb pulsating with energy. It surveyed the land, and then, as if acknowledging the loss of the girl who had unwittingly triggered its reawakening, the figure knelt beside her body. The orb in its hand dimmed, and the ground beneath Tessa began to glow. The humans watched in awe as a miracle unfolded before their eyes. The figure rose, leaving Tessa's body behind. But now she was no longer still. Her chest rose, air filling her lungs. She was alive once more, and yet something had changed. Commander Reyes took a deep breath. "We need to find out what that fleet is, what they want, and why they saved us." But deep inside, they all knew the ancient fleet wasn't here for them. It was here for her. The Earth Defense Fleet had never been tested quite like this. As the alien ships materialized from the dark void, their design was like nothing humans had seen before. Organic, almost alive, with glowing structures that pulsed with energy. Admiral Serena Klein stood at the helm of the flagship Resolute, watching the enemy vessels with narrowed eyes. Communications with Earth had been severed. They were on their own. "Prepare all systems for defensive action," she ordered. "We don't know what they want, but we're going to be ready." Her command staff worked with calm efficiency, their hands moving swiftly across their control panels. The Resolute and the rest of the fleet had been deployed to this remote system after Earth had picked up strange signals from beyond known space. The hope had been to make peaceful contact, but when one of the scouting vessels was attacked without warning, peace was no longer an option. A sudden burst of energy from the largest alien ship lit up the screens. Serena could feel the tension in the air thickening. "Admiral, they're charging weapons," her tactical officer, Lieutenant Hayes, reported. "Hold steady," Serena replied, her voice firm. "Let them make the first move. We need to understand their capabilities." The enemy fired a series of glowing projectiles that shimmered through space. They moved too quickly for the human eye to follow, but the ship's sensors picked them up, tracking the incoming barrage. "Evasive maneuvers," Hayes shouted. The Resolute banked hard to the left, engines roaring as it attempted to dodge the attack. But one of the alien projectiles struck the side of the ship, causing a violent explosion that rocked the entire vessel. "Shields at 60%, the engineering chief reported. "Damage is contained." Serena gripped the armrests of her chair, keeping herself steady. "Return fire." The ship's main guns roared to life, sending beams of plasma energy towards the alien vessel. They struck its hull, but the damage seemed minimal. "What the hell are they made of?" Serena muttered under her breath. Suddenly, her communications officer called out, "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies." "Put it through." A voice, distorted and strange, filled the bridge. "Humans, you are in our territory. You will surrender or be destroyed." Serena raised an eyebrow. "Surrender," she muttered. "Not likely." With a deep breath, she stood from her chair and stepped forward. "This is Admiral Serena Klein of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are explorers, not conquerors. If you want war, you'll have it, but we will defend ourselves." There was a long silence. Then the alien voice returned. "We will test your strength." Before Serena could respond, the alien ships surged forward, weapons blazing. It was clear there would be no negotiation. "Prepare all forces for combat." Serena shouted, "This is what we trained for. Let's show them what humanity can do." The battle was fierce. The alien ships moved with an almost liquid grace, dodging and weaving through the barrage of human fire. But the Earth Defense Fleet was no stranger to adversity. Every crew member aboard the ships had been trained for situations just like this, where survival depended on quick thinking and adaptation. "Admiral, we're losing ships on the front lines," one of the officers called out. his voice tight with stress. Serena didn't flinch. Shift to defensive formation beta. Prioritize shield modulation. We need to absorb those energy blasts. The fleet moved as one, adjusting their positions with precision. Shields flickered and flared, holding against the onslaught of alien weaponry. Human technology wasn't as advanced as the enemy's, but it was robust, built for resilience. Even after taking multiple hits, the ships kept fighting. As the battle raged on, Serena's mind raced. She knew brute force wouldn't win this. The aliens had the advantage in firepower and maneuverability. They needed a different approach. Lieutenant Hayes, Serena called out, "Can we scan their ships for weaknesses? I want to know how they're powering those weapons." Hayes nodded, his fingers flying across his console. "Already on it, Admiral. Scans are coming in now." The data appeared on the main display screen, showing the alien ships in more detail. Serena studied it, her sharp eyes searching for any exploitable weakness. And then she saw it. A cluster of energy nodes along the spine of the ships, glowing brighter each time they fired. "Target those energy nodes," she ordered. "That's their Achilles heel. If we can disable those, we can neutralize their weapons." The fleet adjusted its fire, focusing on the nodes. One by one, the alien ships began to falter, their attacks growing less frequent as the energy nodes were destroyed. "They're weakening," Hayes reported, his voice filled with cautious optimism. "We might have a chance." Serena nodded, but she remained focused. "Keep up the pressure. We're not out of this yet." As the human fleet pushed forward, the alien ships began to retreat, pulling back from the front lines. But Serena knew this wasn't over. The enemy was regrouping, preparing for another strike. And then, without warning, one of the alien ships exploded in a burst of light. The shockwave rippled through space, causing the remaining ships to scatter. "What just happened?" Serena demanded. "One of their ships, it just overloaded," Hayes said, staring at his screen in disbelief. "It looks like they were pushing their power systems too hard." Serena allowed herself a small smile. "Looks like they're not invincible after all." But even as she spoke, the largest of the alien ships loomed on the horizon, its weapons charging for a final devastating attack. Serena's smile faded. This fight was far from over. The massive alien ship, larger than anything the human fleet had faced so far, loomed in the distance. It pulsed with a dangerous energy, its weapons systems glowing with an intensity that made even the hardened veterans aboard the Resolute feel uneasy. Serena stood tall on the bridge, her eyes locked on the incoming behemoth. She knew they had to act fast, or it would annihilate them. "All ships, prepare for evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "We're not going to outgun this thing, but we can outthink it." Her mind raced as she considered their options. They couldn't withstand another direct hit from that ship's weaponry, but maybe they didn't have to. "Hayes, bring up a map of the battlefield," she called out. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the positions of the remaining human and alien ships, as well as the massive alien dreadnought that dominated the screen. Serena studied the map for a moment, then her eyes lit up with an idea. "We're going to use their own strength against them. Hayes, can we trigger one of those energy surges we saw earlier?" Hayes blinked, then his expression shifted to one of understanding. "You mean cause one of their ships to overload?" "Exactly," Serena replied. "If we get them in just the right spot, we might be able to create a chain reaction. Their power systems are too volatile. If we push them past their limit, they'll take themselves out." Hayes nodded, already working on the calculations. "I think it's possible, but we'll need to get in close, dangerously close." Serena gave a grim smile. "Danger's part of the job, Lieutenant. Let's get it done." The human fleet moved swiftly, closing in on the alien ships. Serena's plan was risky, but it was their best shot. The smaller alien ships darted around them, trying to block their approach, but the human ships held their course, their focus unwavering. "Admiral, we're in range," Hayes reported, targeting the weakest energy node now. "Fire," Serena ordered. The Resolute's cannons roared to life, sending a concentrated beam of energy straight into the heart of the alien ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a flash of light, the ship's energy systems overloaded, sending a massive shockwave through space. The shockwave hit the other alien ships like a tidal wave, triggering a chain reaction. One by one, the ships began to implode, their power systems collapsing under the strain. "Admiral, it's working," Hayes shouted, his voice filled with triumph. Serena allowed herself a moment of relief, but she knew the battle wasn't over yet. The largest alien ship was still intact, its weapons now fully charged and ready to fire. "Admiral, they're targeting us," one of the officers called out. Serena's heart pounded in her chest. They were out of time. "Divert all power to shields," she ordered. "Brace for impact." The alien ship fired its massive weapon, a beam of energy so powerful it seemed to tear through space itself. It struck the Resolute head-on, and the ship shuddered violently under the impact. But the shields held. "Shields are at 10%, the engineering chief reported, his voice strained. The bridge of the Resolute was a cacophony of alarms and flashing lights. The energy blast from the massive alien dreadnought had left the ship teetering on the edge of destruction. Crew members struggled to maintain control as the ship groaned under the strain. "Shields at 5%. We're one more hit away from collapse," the engineering chief shouted, his voice filled with urgency. Serena gripped the edge of her command chair, her knuckles white. She knew they couldn't take another blast like that. The alien ship loomed ahead, its weapon systems cycling for another attack. Time was running out. "Options, people. I need options," she called out. "Admiral." Lieutenant Hayes said, his eyes wide. "If we can't take out that ship in the next few minutes, we're finished." Serena's mind raced. They had already destroyed the smaller alien vessels using their energy nodes as weak points, but the dreadnought's systems were more complex. There had to be another vulnerability. "Scan the ship again, Hayes," Serena ordered. "There's got to be something we missed." Hayes's hands moved swiftly across the console, sending out a deep scan of the alien dreadnought. The data began streaming in, and Serena watched the holographic image of the enemy ship as it filled with red and orange highlights showing structural weaknesses and energy flows. "There," Hayes exclaimed, pointing to a small, faint glow near the ship's center. "That's its power core, or at least some form of it. It's heavily shielded, but if we can punch through—" Serena's eyes narrowed. It was a slim chance, but they didn't have time for anything else. "All ships, target the core," she commanded. "Focus everything you've got on that spot. We either break through or we're done." The Earth Defense Fleet regrouped, their weapons converging on the alien dreadnought's core. Plasma cannons, missile salvos, and energy beams all fired in unison, their combined firepower lighting up the void of space. The dreadnought's shields flared brightly under the assault, straining to hold back the barrage. "Keep firing," Serena urged. "We're almost there." The shields of the alien ship began to buckle, flickering under the relentless pressure. Then, with a flash of light, the shield collapsed. "Now," Serena shouted, "hit the core." The combined fire from the fleet pierced through the exposed hull of the alien dreadnought. A split second later, a massive explosion ripped through the center of the ship as its power core detonated. The alien vessel shuddered violently, its immense structure breaking apart piece by piece. "We did it," Hayes shouted, unable to hide his exhilaration. But Serena didn't share in the celebration just yet. "Brace for impact," she warned, watching as the wreckage of the dreadnought began to collapse in on itself, sending shockwaves and debris hurtling toward the human fleet. The Resolute rocked violently as chunks of the alien ship flew past, narrowly missing them. The bridge crew held their breath as the debris field passed, and when it was over, the view on the main screen cleared to reveal the shattered remains of the enemy flagship. The alien dreadnought was gone. A collective sigh of relief swept through the bridge. For a moment, they had survived. "Admiral, incoming message from Earth," the communications officer said, a hint of excitement in his voice. "We're back online." "Patch it through," Serena said, feeling the weight of exhaustion settle in, but refusing to relax just yet. The face of General Matthews, the head of Earth's Defense Council, appeared on the screen, his expression grave but with a spark of hope in his eyes. Admiral Klein, we've been monitoring the situation. That was one hell of a fight. What's the status? We took heavy damage, but we're still operational, Serena replied. The alien dreadnought is destroyed, but we don't know if more of them are coming. Matthews nodded grimly. We're detecting more signals from their side. You need to regroup and prepare for a counterattack. Serena steeled herself. Understood, General. We'll be ready. The fleet barely had time to catch its breath before the sensors lit up again, detecting more alien vessels inbound. This time, the alien fleet wasn't just sending a single dreadnought. There were dozens of ships, ranging from frigates to cruisers, forming a vengeful armada. Here they come, Hayes said, his voice tight with tension. Serena watched the incoming fleet with a cold, calculating gaze. They had survived one battle, but this was a full-scale assault. Her fleet was battered, shields barely holding, weapons systems strained to their limits. But retreat wasn't an option. Get me a tactical analysis, she ordered. Hayes brought up the data. It's not looking good, Admiral. They outnumber us 3-1, and some of their ships are even bigger than the one we just destroyed. We can't win this head-on. Serena's mind worked furiously, searching for a way to turn the tide, and then it hit her. A plan that was bold, almost reckless, but it just might work. Listen up, everyone, she said, her voice filled with determination. We're going to make our final stand right here, but we're not going to fight them conventionally. We're going to use the terrain to our advantage. She pointed to the holographic map of the system, highlighting a nearby asteroid field. Those asteroids are dense and filled with metallic ores. If we lure the enemy fleet into that field, we can use the debris to mask our movements and set traps. It's our only chance. The crew exchanged glances, uncertainty on their faces, but Serena's resolve was unshakable. Admiral, Hayes began, that field is extremely hazardous. If we miscalculate even slightly. Serena nodded. I know the risks, but it's better than being picked apart in open space. Trust me, we got the upper hand when it comes to strategy. They may have the firepower, but we have ingenuity. Hayes nodded, though his expression remained tense. Understood, Admiral. Serena turned to the communications officer. Relay the plan to the fleet. We're going dark. No transmissions. No active sensors once we're in the field. We'll use the asteroids for cover and strike when they least expect it. As the human fleet entered the asteroid field, the ships powered down their systems, going into silent running mode. The massive rocks drifted around them, creating natural shields from the enemy sensors. Serena's fleet disappeared into the chaotic maze of debris, like ghosts in the void. The alien armada followed them, their superior numbers giving them confidence. But that confidence would be their undoing. Wait for my signal, Serena whispered, watching the enemy ships enter the field. The alien fleet advanced cautiously, their weapons at the ready but their sensors struggling to track the human ships amidst the thick asteroid clouds. It was exactly what Serena had hoped for. Now, she shouted. The human fleet sprang to life. Hidden among the asteroids, they unleashed a devastating ambush. Missiles and plasma beams erupted from the darkness, striking the alien ships from all directions. The aliens, caught off guard, tried to retaliate, but their larger ships struggled to maneuver in the tight confines of the asteroid field. Target their engines and communication relays, Serena ordered. Keep them confused. Make them fight blind. The human ships darted through the asteroids with precision, their smaller size giving them an advantage. They struck swiftly and retreated just as quickly, using the terrain to hide from counterattacks. One by one, the alien ships began to fall, their massive forms breaking apart under the relentless assault. Serena watched the battle unfold, her heart pounding. This was it, the final gambit. If they could keep the pressure on, they just might win. Admiral, Hayes said, his voice filled with amazement. It's working. We're turning the tide. But even as he spoke, the largest of the alien ships, a colossal dreadnought even bigger than the one they had destroyed earlier, pushed through the asteroid field. Its weapons systems glowed with terrifying power. "We need to take that thing out before it can fire," Serena shouted. The human fleet focused all their firepower on the massive dreadnought, but its shields held firm. It was too powerful to take down with conventional weapons. Serena gritted her teeth. This was the moment of truth. "Prepare for a full-force ramming strike," she ordered. "We're going to use the Resolute as a battering ram." The crew stared at her in shock, but they didn't question the order. "Admiral, are you sure?" Hayes asked, his voice trembling. Serena nodded. "It's the only way. We've come this far, and I'm not letting them take us down without a fight. For Earth." The Resolute surged forward, engines at maximum thrust. Serena felt the ship shudder as it accelerated toward the alien dreadnought. This was their last stand, their final strike.